Coming up, more from the Inclusive Africa Conference in Nairobi.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey guys, welcome along to another episode of Double Tap. Shaun Priest is back with me. How are you today?
I am fantastic, thank you. Day 2 in Nairobi.
Absolutely. God, I wish I was there.
I know, yeah.
Why are we not there?
Well, someone was scared of injections, I think. That's what it came down to.
Okay, didn't know you were scared of injections, but there we go. Now we know. That's called projection, ladies and gentlemen. Ask your psychologist if projection is right for you. So, listen, before we get to our interviewees today, because we are going to be continuing our conversations with some amazing people today, including, wait for it, our good friend Christopher Patnoe from Google. He's back with us. Very excited to have Christopher back with us. And also, on this show, the Vice President of Accessibility and Engagement at Meta.
What? Clang.
Mm-hmm. Maxine Williams joining us a little bit later on in the show. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I know.
Amazing. So we're going to get to those interviews shortly, but just want to tell you, if you've been following our new newsletter, which, by the way, we've been getting some amazing feedback from people. Thank you so much to everyone who's signed up for the newsletter. And again, huge apologies for the issues we've been having getting the newsletter out there through the subscription process. It's all new to us, but we're figuring our way, and you've been very patient and very kind. And those of you who've been trying to get it on, you might say, devices that, create some new challenges along the way.
Oh, that's very polite of you, Stephen.
Yeah, very polite way of saying it. Some devices have caused some challenges, but we are working through them. One in particular I'm thinking about is the Blind Shell Classic 3. Some people struggling to add private podcasts to that. Our new podcast feed, of course, is a private feed that you get via the newsletter. And there doesn't seem to be a way for us to get that onto the Blind Shell Classic 3, but we're working on it. We're talking to Blind Shell, and they are talking to their development team, and hopefully that will come very, very soon. We're also looking for a way to get it onto the Amazon Echo, so you can just ask your device to play it if you don't have any other way to play it. All that is in motion, so stay with us. And of course, stay tuned to your favourite new newsletter, the Double Tap Digest. All the details will be coming in that. Plus, of course, more news of our exclusive content, which you can go and get. Right now, you can go and listen to Shaun, me, Michael Babcock, and Callum Stoneman talk all about WWDC next week. We'll be covering that on Tuesday's show. It's going to be very busy on Monday night, Tuesday for us as we get into all the detail and unpack it all. And we have a stellar panel to talk about as well. We'll give you more details on our stellar panel who are joining us next week as well. We'll do that very soon. But I want to mention Hable, because Hable have teamed up with Double Tap to bring you a very special offer. They don't do special offers very often, but they did decide this year to do one with Double Tap, and that is a 15% off offer on the Hable One or Hable Easy. You can find out more details by visiting the I Am Hable website, which you can find in our show notes, or you can go to doubletaponair.com/subscribe to get your hands on the newsletter that will immediately come to you, and you will get all the details, including that all-important code, double15, and that will get you your 15% off if you decide to get yourself a Hable One or Hable Easy. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? Oh, great deal. So pleased that they're doing that with us. Right, let's get to the conference then. Inclusive Africa continuing, of course, in Nairobi, Kenya, and our team are there. And standing by, we have our first guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Palesa Mosiea. I'm a motivational speaker, entrepreneur, and inclusion activist all the way from South Africa. And I'm here at Inclusive Africa because I love to speak about inclusion and accessibility because I'm a person living with a disability. And also, I'm here to MC the conference and to participate in some of the panel discussions.
Wonderful. Okay, so you are the lady with the microphone, right? You're going to be keeping charge, keeping time on everybody.
Definitely. And if I say it's done, it's done. If I say it starts, it starts.
Yeah, I like you.
Sounds like you, Stephen.
No, actually, I was going to say we could do with you around here, to be honest. That'd be quite useful around here. Listen, tell us first off how you got into this whole field. You mentioned you have a disability yourself.
I do. I was born with albinism, which is lack of pigment in the skin, hair, and eyes. But I was also born with a visual impediment called nystagmus, which is an involuntary movement of the eye that causes short sight. So I struggled growing up with these two conditions. You'll see that I'm white in terms of my complexion, but when I speak my home language in South Africa, I'm a black woman. So I'm a black woman with albinism. So growing up, I struggled figuring out where I belong because I was teased by the black kids and the white kids until I found my voice and fully accepted myself exactly the way I am. And in self-love grew self-confidence. And with my visual impediment, in 2017, found a technology called bioptic glasses, which assisted me to get behind the wheel of a car, something I was told I'll never do my whole life. So I've dedicated my life to inclusivity and accessibility. I've recently just launched my talent management company where I represent talent that comes from marginalized groups or people with disability, because I know how difficult it was for me to break through, even as talented as I was, just because I looked different.
Well, I mean, if you're ever looking for people to join your talent agency, a couple of guys here that are, pretty, okay at this kind of thing.
Not talented. No, I don't think.
Oh, hang on.
Not
Do we need
talent?
to have the talent? Do we need to have talent?
The talent. The talent is a prerequisite.
Forget it.
I don't know where we start with that last answer. I mean, wow. Okay, so let me ask you this, because this stuck out to me when you said, you were teased. You didn't really know where you belonged.
Yeah.
Until you accepted your albinism. How acceptance is so difficult when you have a disability, but once you do accept it, life becomes easier. But how did you start that acceptance?
Okay, I got tired of crying because I went to a Christian school called Val Christian School in the Free State. So they could have been more creative with the name. But anyway, and every week I would cry 2 to 3 times a week because that's how much of the bullying and mocking and discrimination that I had to face. Until one day, after crying the whole night, after a very bad incident at school where we were walking to assembly and they started making fun of me, and I told one of the teachers who saw me crying that they were calling me an albino. So she said to me, "Why would you cry when they call you what you are?" I was devastated. I went back to boarding school because I wasn't staying at home. And I called my mom. I used to have a phone card that we would use at a payphone in South Africa. And until that phone card was depleted, I was crying nonstop. And then I realized that crying doesn't help. If you know me, you'll know I'm a very solutions-oriented person. So I realized this crying doesn't make this thing stop. So I needed to try something different. So I said, okay, this time I'm not going to cry. I'm going to confront them. And you will know that a bully's power comes from your fear. And once you eradicate the fear, they're powerless and they'll move on to their next victim. So it was break time. And this time a group of white girls started mocking me. I got off the jungle gym and I went straight to one of them and I said, "What is your problem? I have your skin." Remember, she was white. And pointing at a black girl, I said, "I have their mind. So I have the best of both worlds. So what's the issue?" And guys, I always joke, in South Africa, there's a bread company that released a bread that is called the best of both worlds. It's white bread with the goodness of brown bread. And I always joke, I should have coined that phrase. I'd be making a killing. I wouldn't have to work here today. But in any case, then I realized that it worked. It worked. Me standing up for myself worked. Me showing them that this doesn't change who I am. It's just a condition I have. And unfortunately, I went to 6 different schools. So I had to do the standoff 6 different times. But with practice, you begin to realize that you are born different, but it doesn't change the substance of who you are. In fact, in time, I started embracing it because when I walk into a room, you will look, whether you like it or not. But this time, I don't shy away. I give you a show.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, I think that's the challenge for a lot of people, isn't it? No matter what the situation is, when it comes to disability, for example, I think about when I was coming to terms with blindness. I would kind of get myself to a point where I would feel confident enough to get out over the front door, and then you would have an interaction with yet another person. I call them sighted zombies. Because there's always another one around the corner, right? You smash through one with advocacy, and then there's another one, and it gets hard. How do you cloak yourself in such a way that allows you to be able to do it time after time, like you said, with the education side of it, with the people around you? How do you keep going?
The first thing is you surround yourself with the right voices, starting with your own. Sometimes the worst voice is that internal voice that keeps telling you negativity, right? How do you silence that voice? You need to make sure you feed yourself positivity. Then there's the people that surround us, our family, our friends. Sometimes those are the very people that increase our insecurities, increase our fears. So your circle is very important. Somebody said to me 2 days ago, family is not always who you're born to. Family can be people that you choose in the world now. So if you're surrounded by people that constantly tell you that your disability is annoying because I don't want to sit outside if there's no umbrella because my skin burns, then that's not going to help you. So you need to have the right circle. You need to always feed positivity to yourself, because you have to have a positive attitude to believe that you can be anything that you want to be. And most importantly, you have to love yourself. It is a job. You have to do it consistently. You have to tell yourself every day that I'm worth it. I'm great. I'm unbelievable. I can do anything I put my mind to. I'm created this way for a reason. I have a bigger purpose. You need to affirm yourself on a daily basis. Repetition makes your mind believe. And if you don't believe me, why do you think Coke is still advertising? We know Coke, but they advertise because they know repetition works. So practice it with yourself. Constantly repeat positivity to yourself. Surround yourself with the right people, and make sure that voice inside speaks positivity even in adversity.
Wow. Well, you've motivated me. I want you for my agent. That's amazing.
Yes, I'll
You
send
need the
that
talent,
quote.
Sean.
Oh, we don't need talent when you've got that voice behind you. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Talking of which, talking of your agency there, how do you find the clients that you get? You mentioned that you pick from minority groups. So
Yes,
how
yes.
do you find them, and how do you find their attitude?
Okay, so fortunately, because I started embracing inclusion, because initially I really didn't want to be the poster child for inclusion, because for me, I didn't want to be treated differently just because I have a disability. I wanted people to look at me as a normal person. But then I realized there has to be someone that is the voice, someone that has overcome the challenges. It's literally just started about 3 weeks ago. It's very new. I've never done talent management before, but before I was a boxing manager, I had never done boxing. Before I went into construction, I had never done construction. It's so important to me to help people that look like me and people that have other disabilities get work that I struggled to get. I'm an entrepreneur, so I bite off more than I can chew, then I chew very quickly. So right now I'm chewing very quickly, but I'm surrounded by people that have seen me at various platforms, and they're constantly asking me, how did you manage to book the manufacturing in Durban in South Africa? How did you manage to book Inclusive Africa? And then these people that I speak to, I then realize that they are talented individuals that are struggling. So I say to them, listen, I'm starting an agency. Would you like to be a part of it? What I'm doing with the agency is helping people that have challenges but are exceptionally talented and just don't get opportunities. So the idea is for me to use my network and to knock on as many doors as I can to force companies to be inclusive and not treat inclusion, like a tick box exercise. So I'm going to use my network, I'm going to use my connections to push to get people that are like me and people that have other disabilities to get into the professional spaces of acting, motivational speaking, and any other form of talent that they want to expose to the world.
Yeah, I also want to mention that we've got two things in common. The three of us actually have one thing in common, and that is nystagmus. We're all part of the nystagmus family.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The world's a shaky place.
That's right. Does it go up or down or side to side? That's the question, because it's depends on which one you've got, right?
Side to side for me.
Same here.
Side to
and
side
also
for me too.
Yeah, there
There
you go.
you
We're
go.
all part of the side to side family.
Yeah.
And also, bioptics. I had a chance to try these. I think it would have been 6 or 7 years ago. My vision was a little bit better. And sadly now for me, they don't work. I'm so pleased they work for you because they seemed amazing. Tell people what they are for people who don't know what that is.
Okay, so firstly, I have to say, when I went for my eye test, the optometrist really managed my expectations, because she said to me, for the glasses to work, it would depend on the level of the I don't know if it was the level or the frequency of my nystagmus, but I already knew that they might not work, but I was praying that they would work. So there are glasses, normal glasses, that are just fitted with a telescope. I make it sound like it's nothing. They're just fitted with a telescope on the top. You can take the glasses that have a telescope on one side, or you can take the glasses that have a telescope on both sides, which is what I did. So in all honesty, I use the telescope if I have to look at something from a distance, and they're a little bit heavy, I have to be honest, because when I started wearing them, they were falling off, and I had to find all different ways of keeping them at the right position for me to drive. Because when you drive, you look through the normal lens, and if you have to look at something at a distance, you quickly look through the telescope and then you look back. So what I've realized is when I use GPS on my phone, I don't need the telescope as much as I would if I didn't have the GPS, because the GPS gives me a general indication through voice of where I should go. So yeah, the simple answer is they are spectacles fitted with a telescope that help people that have my version of nystagmus or a certain severity of nystagmus get behind the wheel of a car and drive. And it's worked so well for me. Since 2017, I've been driving for myself. And luckily in 2018, my driver resigned, so I didn't have to fire him. But he really pushed me to start driving for myself.
Were you planning to fire him at that point? Was that
At some point,
mind?
it doesn't make sense to pay for a driver when you can now drive for yourself, you know? So I
I'm
realized
trying to get gossip about the driver.
Oh, sometimes they'd show up drunk. So that's when I needed the technology, because I needed a driver
gossip.
to go to the store. Yeah, but on a serious note, people don't understand. I needed a driver even to go to the store to buy bread, because I lived in the Free State, and there were no Ubers or any other meter taxi or anything like that. So I couldn't even take myself to the store to buy something that I needed. So if my driver didn't show up for whatever reason, I was stuck. So I'm so happy to have the bioptics. They really help.
And there's many low vision people who, you know, maybe can't drive as a result of wearing them. And certainly I know where we are in the UK that you cannot drive with them. And I think in the US you can. There are different rules in different countries.
Yeah.
But, you know, for a lot of people, it's just being able to see street signs or just being able to navigate or read a menu. And that's where I found them really interesting. I mean, sadly for me, they don't work anymore, but I think it's good people know about them. I remember meeting a wonderful man called Ian Hughes, who worked for Associated Optical. If you're listening, Ian, there you go. You just got a name check. But, you know, he was wonderful because he spent so much time and like with you. The expectations were managed. There's a lot of this great low vision tech out there. It doesn't work for everybody, but for those it does work with, wow, it's changed your life.
It has, in a big way.
So is your message, and forgive me for being coarse, but is your message to the world, screw it, you know, be yourself, you know, just love yourself, be yourself. Is that the message? I'm not a motivational speaker, can you tell?
Yeah, we noticed.
I could tell from the screw it.
Yeah.
Did that give it away?
Maybe not in our team. But
that's at the heart of it, isn't it? It's a heart of it of saying you kind of got to cloak yourself. You've got to grow a thick skin. You've got to we have to do it as blind people to live in this world, right?
Yes, not everybody's going to love you. You're not money. And believe it or not, there are people in the world that don't like money. I don't know how, but it happens. So if you don't love yourself, how can anyone else love you? And it's not going to be easy, because when you're different, people are wired to rebel against something that they don't know. I don't know why we're created like that, but when you don't know something, your first instinct is to rebel against it or to run away from it or to avoid it. So once you know that, you already expect that the world is not going to receive you the way it would receive anyone else that is, in inverted commas, normal, right? So I made peace with that. And I decided to use my difference as a superpower instead of a disadvantage, you know. So I'm going to go out. When I go out, I'm going to look my best, so that when I said I'll give you a show, it's because I always look my best. There's also a misconception that if you have a visual impediment or a disability, or if you're blind, you don't care what you look like, you know. So I kill those misconceptions. And in any case, you can never be anyone else but yourself. Everyone else is taken. I'm sorry if this is news to you, but I swear everyone else is taken. So you can only be yourself. And no matter what the universe throws your way, it is your choices, not your circumstances, that determine your outcome. The minute you internalize that, because trust you me, as much as you think your situation is horrible, there's someone in a much worse situation than you are, and they still have a positive attitude. So, yeah, screw it. Be yourself.
There you
In the
go.
words of my host.
There you go. I got you to say it. There we go. I feel like I've
Yeah.
achieved something terrible today. Well done,
done.
Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I wish you all the best with your future and with the talent agency as well. And listen, if you ever want, just give us a call. If you ever need some Scottish or English talent, just let us know.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'll send
Bye
that
then.
quote.
We'll wait for your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful to speak to you. What an amazing woman, honestly.
I feel motivated. I've got
So
to tell
do
you. I feel amazing as well.
Yeah. To tell you, she proves her worth doing that job. I'll tell you, she really does. Because I'm a very cynical person, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm really drawn into this. This is amazing. Okay, let's move on, and we're going to welcome a brand new guest to the show, someone we've never had on the show before. We hope it's the first of many. Why don't you introduce yourself, Maxine?
Hi, my name is Maxine Williams. I am the VP, Head of Accessibility and Engagement at Meta. I am now sitting in Nairobi, Kenya at the Enable Inclusive Africa Conference, but I came here all the way from Menlo Park in California.
Wow. And you're on our show. I don't know what's going on here. This is amazing. I'm so pleased to have you. This is a fantastic day. It really is.
We go where the people are.
Absolutely. And you're in an amazing place. You're sponsoring the Inclusive Africa Conference as well, right?
Yes, and we have for a number of years. It's important to us to be part of what we're building, and you build that with the people who you are building for. And so Enable Africa brings together so many of the people who are both people living with the experience of disabilities, but also those advocating, those building for. We've been in sessions today around assistive technology, around brands and advertisers. We've talked about how technology companies can integrate with telcos. I mean, it's just, a lot of the useful, practical information for making sure that we are building products that serve the world.
Yeah, and on that point, I mean, there is one product in particular that a lot of the blind community are very, very excited about.
What's that, Stephen Scott?
I can't think of its name right now. It's escaped me. Meta Ray-Ban glasses, of course, is what I'm talking about. Everyone, when they came out, I think in our community, I'll be honest, Maxine, not perhaps the first iteration, but something around the second iteration, the second generation of these glasses when they came out, a lot of us, I started to see more and more people in the community talking about it, making the leap, buying into it, and trying them out. And I've got to say, personally, I want to thank you and the team at Meta for making a product which has meant me able to take pictures again, take an interest in taking pictures, taking videos more easily than I've ever been able to, sharing those pictures. I said it at the beginning when I first got them, that I was actually getting quite emotional at the fact that I was able to take pictures at events with friends, with family, that I would never have done before. And then, of course, using the AI to actually know what was in the picture. I mean, just amazing piece of work. And, I know these are mainstream products, but what was your reaction at Meta when you learned that the blind community were getting so interested in this?
So I'll take you a step back. Before these were even out there, we understood what the value would be to blind and low vision people. We had parallel tracks going on where we understood that this form factor would be beneficial to everyone. So you talked about going to see, the events and friends and family. I go to my kids' soccer games and it has changed my life. It has changed my experience because now I don't have to miss the game to capture the memory because it's recording straight through what I see. I just took a trip to a new country. And there I was with the glasses, tell me, what's this building? Where do I go for this? Like navigating this space and learning. So we knew it would be good for everyone. And at the same time, we had a parallel track going in development where we were understanding what the value would be to blind and low vision people. We have engineers on our teams who are blind or low vision themselves, who have family members who are. And so we were really exploring what this form factor can do. So yeah, what feels good is to know that what was anticipated through the user research, and we did co-design labs where we build with people from these different communities, that it was realized when these came to market. And what we have seen since is that blind and low vision people are the highest engaged users of these products. And that is phenomenal, because I personally believe that all technology is assistive technology.
Yeah.
And
it should be. Yeah.
I think it is. Everybody who's using a phone is using it to help them with something. It's using it because it makes something more efficient, something easier. You know, it brings information to them in a faster way than they could themselves. Like, there's just like, it's a fact. And so it's just a question of what's the assistance you're looking for. And to have a product that can assist so many people in so many ways, where people are coming back talking about how it is revolutionary, how it has changed their lives. I mean, it's moving, it's emotional, and it's phenomenal to be able to do that and to build with people and then see the value that it brings to them.
Oh, it definitely has. There's no denying it. You mentioned that you knew these were going to have an impact, you know, at the early stages. But were you surprised about the numbers that have sold of the Meta Ray-Bans?
You know, look, we're ambitious. So we set some high targets. We are nothing if not ambitious. I think, you know, look, the surprising piece is what happened once AI blew up. So we have a whole roadmap for these wearables and these glasses. And we had anticipated that holograms, you know, screens where you see things on the screen, on the lens, that would come first. And then AI kind of swooped in and took over. And so that was, I think, the surprising part. And that then really boosted, accelerated the rate at which adoption happened and that value was delivered. Because so many of the use cases that you see now, you know, I was just at a conference, CSUN, which you must know about. You know, and like I'm having lunch and I'm the only sighted person at the table. And people with the glasses no longer need to ask me, where are the extra fries? Right? Like, no, seriously. It's things like that. Like, I mean, I don't need to tell you. You know that. I don't need to tell you.
Yeah.
It's the everyday things that give you an independence and a dignity and just raise, you know, I say accessibility is about usability and value. And what we see in this product is the convergence of those two. It is a usable product that brings value to people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I talk about the everyday things. I mean, one aspect of the Meta Ray-Bans that doesn't get talked about enough, and I think it's an amazing feature, is when you record a video, you're recording spatial audio as well. And what that meant was, on a trip to Canada last year, I was able to capture all this amazing audio that I could relive those moments again, just by sitting in my front room, wearing the glasses, listening back to the videos I'd recorded as if I was there. Yeah. It was amazing. And that kind of audio postcard approach, which, you know, again, I think for blind people is I mean, it's more important than pictures, let's be honest, for us. But, you know, of course we can analyze the images and we can get a lot out of that as well. But having that audio, it was really key. And
it's funny.
Again, that's another huge aspect of it.
You know, when you talk about that, it reminds me when we, a couple of years ago, rebranded from Facebook to Meta. And that was at the point where we were investing heavily in this new kind of technology, in the metaverse, etc. And the word that we were very focused on was presence. That we wanted to bring technology that gave people a feeling of presence in the world. And this is one of those examples that when you are sitting now replaying, you feel present again in Canada. It's all around you and you feel immersed in it in a way that, you know, just didn't exist before we were able to bring these things to market.
Yeah, it's great. It really is. I will say, when you say presence as well, and us being able to relive memories, for me as well, it's the ability to make a video call to someone and for them to be able to see through the glasses and assist me, it feels like there's always someone with me. I feel more confident in going out on my own and, maybe doing that route that I haven't done before, because, hey, if I get stuck, I can always summon someone, pull someone out of my pocket, and there's always someone present with me. It makes a huge impact.
And are you talking about when you're using the AI alone, or are you talking about the Be My Eyes partnership?
I'm talking about both the Be My Eyes implementation and also the ability to make a WhatsApp video call or Messenger, or I believe even Instagram calls now as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Calls on Instagram, I am not sure of. Certainly WhatsApp.
He doesn't know what he's talking about, Maxine. He's never used Instagram in his life.
No, I haven't. No, I know.
He's making that up as he goes along.
No, I'm sure it's on there.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
talking
you're
about
missing
WhatsApp
out.
calls.
You're missing out.
Well, so am I, clearly.
This be my gift to you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's, oh, wonderful. Another 3 hours of my day gone. But no, listen, I've got to say, like Shaun says, all these amazing features are wonderful. The one big challenge, let's be brutally honest, one big challenge that I think you guys are facing, and we, because we're so hungry for this, especially the AI, the big challenge has been getting access to it in some countries. There are still challenges, isn't there, getting it rolled out across some parts of the world. It's not available everywhere yet.
No, they aren't everywhere yet, but this is new. So as we roll them out, we're learning what markets can bear, what markets want. This is what's also new for us, is making hardware that has supply chains, right? Which then impact how much inventory you have. And then you have to make decisions about where inventory goes. So there are just like a whole bunch of different aspects that go into this that were not sort of innate in our business model before. So what I would say is that it's not yet in every market.
There is a question, I think, that the blind community has, and we see this across other technologies as well. There's because AI in itself, when the glasses in particular, will eventually move towards AR, augmented reality. There's always a fear, I think, in the blind community that suddenly screens become the focus again. So right now with the Meta Ray-Bans, they're perfect, right? Because you don't have a screen. You don't need a screen. We were given a little bit of hope, I think, when we heard some news recently from Google about their potential project is going to, have an optional screen. And we thought, oh, that's interesting. So it means it doesn't need one. There's always that concern, isn't there, Maxine, that, I think in our community, the screen is going to become king again. Is that something you're aware of?
Look, I'm aware because I've seen this movie before in other places. So silent movies were the only movies at one point, and so captions were everywhere. And deaf people could participate just as well as everyone else. And then sound came, and that's when captions dropped off. And all of a sudden, deaf people could not experience the movie in the same way. And it has taken all this time through advocacy, etc., to bring captions back. So that's what when I say I've seen the movie before, I know that things can change and go when new technology comes. What I can say is right now, as I sit here, I think we are going to have options of devices. So that if you want a device with a screen, you may have that. And if you want a device without, you may have that. I think that is the current plan. I can't commit that things won't change, but definitely bearing in mind, we're so much better now at understanding what the public wants and needs and building for and with them for that. So I have more confidence now that we won't repeat the same movie again. When I say we, I mean as a society.
Well,
it's
there's always the challenge with
bear in
progress,
mind.
right? There's always the challenge with progress that somehow something or someone gets left out of it. This is the challenge of, and that's the case with everything, right? I mean, I remember when the Amazon Echo came out, and I was thinking, wow, this is the best thing in the world for blind people, and a bunch of deaf people put their hands up and said, but what about us?
Yeah,
correct.
It's the same problem, right? It's the same issue. Correct. This is that progress can create new challenges. I think the key is that we're being listened to. And do you feel within Meta accessibility is up there, is part of the focus?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm here now at this conference, and probably the most senior person from one of these big companies who is here, because it mattered that much to be here, to be in market, to connect with people, to understand and learn from them what their experiences are that we should be cognizant of and responding to. We have a commitment to building with. So right now I have teams in different parts of the world running co-design labs where we're working with people with different abilities, and we do it for a number of different characteristics. taking their input from the beginning of the process so that we are building the right things. I was just on a panel. I said, boy, I couldn't pay for this amount of marketing benefit, where a panelist was talking about her experience as a blind person working with Meta, where she did an ad with us for the glasses, but she was like, I was contacted months and months and months before, and Meta took the time to know who I was, spent time living with me, like it was a whole thing, and hearing from them in order to build what we built. So we have a track record of it. I know we are committed to it. So I have good faith that that is how we will continue going.
Well, I wish you all the best with it. Before I let you go, just one final question. The Be My Eyes partnership, of course.
Yes.
That was quite a big deal in all of this as well,
Yes.
right? Because that really showed that commitment by bringing in the team there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're deep in with Be My Eyes. We're very, very close to them. You know, Be My Eyes has millions of volunteers around the world. And they either the people for free on devices that are relatively, and this depends on the market you're in, but relatively affordable, can get that kind of access is, I mean, it's unheard of, right? We don't in human existence have an example of something like that before. And the Be My Eyes have been a fantastic partner. So they're also people who we're building with, because we're learning too from the partnership what works. So I'm seeing people using the glasses in 3 different ways. One is with the AI alone as an assistant. One is people using the option to call their own friends while they're using the glasses through WhatsApp. And then the third is the Be My Eyes option. So when you consider all of that, you kind of really have it covered. The people can get the help they need to even augment what the glasses do on their own.
And the AI is only going to improve, right?
Yes.
I mean, we keep saying this on the show. It's the worst it's ever going to be today, right? It's only ever going to improve.
Correct. I mean, I'm hearing things in this conference, right? I'm taking note. Some of the challenges people are talking about experiencing in their lives. And some of the solutions they're talking about, I'm hearing them go, that solution is going to be dated next month. Because the rate at which the AI is working is really, it's just smarter, faster, more efficient, and addressing issues we just couldn't have done as well manually. So I'm very bullish.
Well, listen, don't be a stranger. Come back again and tell us what you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
We'd
Who
love to
knew
have you
we'd
back.
meet here?
I know, of all the places in all the world. I'm so glad to meet you, Maxine. Thank you so much for coming on
All
to
right.
Double Tap.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Wow, the VP of Accessibility and Engagement from Meta on our show. Do you think she'll be back?
Oh, definitely. Yes, I think so.
Okay. Right. You never
hope
know,
so.
right? You know,
Yeah.
Once PR gets hold of it, you never know what's going to happen. But listen, Maxine, thank you so much for coming on. We really do appreciate your time. Stick around here on Double Tap. We're going to be finding out about my new favorite topic, and that is Google and AI from Google with Christopher Patnoe next.
This is Double Tap. We'll be right back.
Hello, YouTube. This is your obligatory message from Shaun and I to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Did I get that right?
I think so. Ding dong, hit that bell for notifications or something like that. But the important thing is, please subscribe. It does help.
It does, right? Because I know lots of you out there are watching the show every day. We see the numbers. We know you're there. But if you hit subscribe, what it means is Mr. F is then off our back. So, I'd really ask you, if possible, to hit that subscribe button and, of course, like the videos and comment as well. We will get to your comments in future videos. Thank you so much for supporting Double Tap here on YouTube. And like and subscribe. I can't believe I'm saying that, Shaun. I feel like a modern Gen Zer.
You do.
Double Tap thanks Turtleback Cases for supporting the show and for creating gear with purpose, passion, and lived experience. It all started when founder Brian Eremita designed a case for the original Braille note, inspired by his son's vision loss. That personal connection turned into a mission. Today, Turtleback still crafts high-quality leather cases for note-takers and accessible tech, offering custom fits for the Mantis Q40, Focus 40, Victor Reader Stream 3, Braille eMotion, Blind Shell Classic 3, and many more. Everything is made in the USA, backed by a 90-day satisfaction guarantee and shipped worldwide via FedEx with tracking. Use promo code DT12 for 12% off your order at turtlebacklv.com.
This is Double Tap. Now, back to the show.
We are covering the Inclusive Africa Conference this week. We'll also be continuing that coverage on Monday's show. But for now, we're going to turn to an old friend, welcoming back Christopher Patnoe to the show. Christopher, I'm kind of asking everybody to introduce themselves. So your turn.
My name is Christopher Patnoe. I lead accessibility and disability innovation for EMEA. So my responsibility is to try to make relationships and understand the needs of the community in Africa, in Middle East, and in Europe. And right now I'm sitting in a hotel lobby at Inclusive Africa in Nairobi.
And you're on our show again, Christopher. It's wonderful to have you back.
You keep asking me back. I'll have to do better next time.
We're so sorry, Chris.
I'm really sorry for you.
So pleased that you're here. And I've got to say, there's been a lot of Google love over here at Double Tap, which has surprised some of our audience, I'll be honest. But, I've got to say, and I'll just jump in with this. I mean, Gemini is really, really good. Really enjoying it.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, it is. It is really getting there. And of course, it's infiltrating so much of the accessibility suite as well, which is wonderful. Of course, the big news of Talkback 16 was that Gemini with the image descriptions was getting follow-up mode. So, it really is embedding itself into accessibility. And I guess that's a story of where we're going, isn't it?
I think AI is basically a Lego. I think of technology as Legos, and this is a Lego that can be put in many different places. But what's cool is when you work with someone to understand what the needs are, you can turn this Lego into different things. So it gets like Lego meets Play-Doh, because you can put it anywhere and it works, but then you can adapt it to meet the needs. So for the blind community, we can do the amazing things in terms of descriptions and follow on. But for the deaf communities, we have these great large language models that make captions and things like that easier as well. So the technology evolves in neat ways, but it has to be done and continues to be done in concert with the community.
Yeah, there's been so much. I mean, you mentioned that, of course, and SignGemma was one of the big projects of the year as well, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
So impressive how, the system is able to identify sign language and then turn that into text. I talk, and I've mentioned it on the show before, Chris, I worked in a building years ago where I was working with deaf people, and deaf people and blind people couldn't communicate with each other. We just couldn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
That was a real issue. And I know that's an issue for many deaf people. They face it every single day. But, I felt, especially as a blind person, I couldn't even attempt to communicate. I had no idea. And being able to use technology to help would just break down all those barriers from people who are supposed to be working in the same field.
But that's the whole thing of technology. The technology becomes the bridge between people, becomes the bridge between the person and that thing that wasn't designed to be accessible. And something like SignGemma, and it's still early days, but it was deaf. It's been led by deaf people, partnered with deaf people, so it's been really engaged with the community. And frankly, we've not done a great job in sort of sharing this message. I'm hoping we can do that better. But this really came from the community, and it's a step in terms of really taking technology and making it possible for people to communicate. And interpretation from sign into text is one thing. Going the other way around is that next big step. And when that happens, now you have the opportunity to allow someone to truly communicate in their own language. And that's so meaningful.
It just is. Yeah, that's another theme I'm picking up from Inclusive Africa. It's communication, networking, youth. I mean, but yeah, it's just the networking aspect. I mean, people, obviously, the networking aspect is so key, so critical. I'm interested to know what you've taken away from Inclusive Africa yourself.
We were trying to figure this out. This is our fourth time in Nairobi to do this, and we participated virtually in the first two. So we've been part of it every year. And what I take away is a deep admiration of the hustle of in the different countries in Africa. There's a hustle to build, to grow, to make my own business, to be my own consultant. It's palpable, the excitement and energy that's here, the hunger and recognition that technology is the key to making a lot of these things better. And since Africa is a mobile-first continent, they skipped the whole laptop thing. They skipped the whole desktop thing. It went straight to mobile devices. So in Africa, M-Pesa, they were doing mobile money 20 years ago. And it was accessible. Only now are we coming back to making it accessible. But that's the other part of what's exciting for me is we're starting to see more and more industry come to the table, partner with the community to understand what are those opportunities and how do we make our products better? Because one, it's good for business, but two, it's important for the community.
I mean, a lot of times I think people will ask you, okay, why are you there? What is your message you're sending? But is it more about listening, learning from people there and actually taking that back to the teams at Google? Is that the purpose really for you?
Absolutely. A lot of people have come to asking for money. That's fine. It's understandable.
Yeah.
But it is really about my taking stories and bringing it back inside Google to make this real. An interesting example is we've had this application called Live Transcribe. It's been around for many years, and we have a pretty good Swahili version. But someone came to us and said, "Well, do you have it in Luo, which is a local language here in Kenya?" And we don't. And he said, "Can you use Swahili?" I said, "Well, yeah, I can use Swahili at work, but my church is in Luo. If I can have Luo, I can go to church again." And these are the kind of stories that bring it to life in a way that reading a paper on language diversity in a country just doesn't give you. And both of those are important. You need to understand what's the most important, but also why is it important? And these are the things that we get by being here, by being proximate in the community as best we can.
I mean, I can't not talk about the amazing announcements at Google I/O with you, because, I mean, there's a lot of them that might not necessarily fall under the category of accessibility. I argue they do. I think about VO3, this amazing creation tool for video and audio as well now. This is the thing that's kind of made us quite interested. You know, you can create videos with sound effects, even dialogue, all these kind of things. A great video you published at Google of a detective shouting at a duck and demanding where he was of the night of the bath, I believe was the video. It was very, very funny. And the duck just squeaks its way through an answer, which I just thought was hilarious. But the thing is, you know, the creativeness in this and the ability for us to start having tools like that will enable the next generation of creators. And that's something that's actually a big theme at the conference this year in Inclusive Africa, is allowing creators not just to become creators, but become entrepreneurs, to actually take it to the next level, have their voice heard, but have that voice be monetized as well. And it's tools like this that will help, right?
It can. I think we need to be thoughtful of how these things are shared and how this information is out, because you want to make sure that these voices are authentic and people don't use it for nefarious things. I'm not worried about, because I think that's a general question. And fortunately at Google, we've done all of the thoughtful things we can with synth and things like that. So we can help create content. But what's really exciting is the youth in Africa. It is predominantly a youth culture, and it's going to get more so and more so over time. So this is where all the innovation is happening. This is where people are creating that next generation. So the VO becomes another Lego block in a creative process. And then you have the ability to have Gemini take a look at this video that may not have audio description, but can give you an audio description. So these things can start to feed on top of each other. You can create a pipeline of self-use. Like if you can send me a video that doesn't have audio description, I can add one for myself. I can tell me what's happening in this video. That's really cool. So if someone doesn't do it for me, I can do it for myself.
Yeah, is AI the answer? Simple as that. Is AI the answer for everything now? Because every question we seem to ask to anyone, it seems like, yeah, AI will solve that. And it seems almost like flippant to say that, but is it in fact true?
I think it's part of an answer. I will never say it is the answer, because people are important. It is us we are trying to serve. It is us we are trying to survive. We are the answer. AI is the tool.
Oh, that's good.
But I think to just
write that one down. I want to remember this one.
That is good. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. But I think just to kind of go further into that though, because I think what Shaun's getting at is when it comes to accessibility, we have all the daily challenges we have, inaccessible websites, apps that aren't labeled properly. There's all these things that happen all the time. Can AI be the solution to that? I mean, I'm not suggesting it's this, and I'm sure Shaun isn't suggesting it's the.
I am.
Okay, maybe you are saying it's.
I think it'll fix everything.
Problems. Okay, fine. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I think instead. I think
it'll take a while.
Yeah. Let's stick with the inaccessible apps and websites for now. I mean, can it be the solution there? And actually, the big question is, does it let the developers off the hook if suddenly AI can solve all of that?
We thought about this when we did the first set of automatic alt text in Chrome. Are we letting the developers off the hook? And we realized that it is better to help everyone a little bit because the world is such an unbalanced and inaccessible place than to worry about someone not participating and not doing the right thing. Because then at least everyone has a chance to engage. But then what gets to happen is those people who want to engage with the community, then they're going to take the effort, and now you're going to be able to compete on who is the best as opposed to who is okay. So I don't think it lets them off the hook, but it makes a more even experience for everyone. And for those companies and those people who want to create content and build products and target and partner with people with people with disabilities, that's when they get to compete. So it becomes an advantage to be good as opposed to being mediocre. But I'd rather have everybody mediocre and some people be great than some people be meh and other things just be rubbish.
Not there. Yeah. It's true.
So so back to the question, it is part of the answer. And you're seeing, I mean, now Google Chrome has reading mode, so it can help people with dyslexia. It has captions, so it can help, and the captions go into a refreshable braille display. So Chrome browser can help people who are deafblind, even in something where you don't have a transcript. So AI becomes part of the pipeline. It becomes an answer, not the answer. Because again, we're trying to help humans. We are humans helping humans, and the AI is a part of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, the next question has to be around. We're all tiptoeing around here, kind of like, should we mention it? Should we not mention it?
Mention it.
Android XR. I mean, come on. This is just like, come on. This is going to be amazing, right? We get to that bit of the Google I/O event, and we're all like, right, woo, woo, etc. Because we're like, this is going to be great. We just want glasses. I'll tell you, my favorite bit of that whole thing was the line when it talked about the glasses that are coming as being or having an optional screen. And I think for us in the blind community, certainly us, we were like, oh, thank God.
There was a large few.
Because I think we kind of felt, is this going to be screen focused? And to be perfectly honest with you, Christopher, I don't think that Google would ever be a company that would just focus on that. I don't think that's that company. But I think that there's a concern that the focus is around the screen. And that was certainly something that was made clear. That's not the case in these initial glasses, that the screen would be optional. What can you tell us about where we're going here? I know there's limited, you could probably say, but what can you tell us?
I can't tell you anything what's happening on the inside, but I can tell you a way to think about it is the platform, it needs to be expandable and support all of the needs. So we want to make sure the experience of a screen is as good as the experience without a screen. But no one company is going to make everything for everyone. So if a company wants to build the meta AIs of today, those have no screen. But if someone wants to have a screen for caption use case, for example, put in the caption use case. Or if for someone who is sighted, who wants to go find the best bar close by, they may want to choose one or the other. So I think at a platform perspective, we want to be agnostic of the solution, but empower people to create the solutions that their customers will want.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the screen version because of the caption opportunity. I saw a prototype a number of years ago where we had the inline captions, and it was the same. And it was a similar prototype that was put onto the TED Talk recently. So the technology exists. The hard part isn't necessarily the software. The hard part is building the glasses at scale, at cost, and have it be something that people want to look at.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, but I think we're getting there. There's no doubt we're getting there with that. It's so, I love the perspective you bring on that, because I think, Shaun and I have talked about this off air, on air. We say, I hope it doesn't have a screen. And then you just hit us with this, but what about deaf people who could really value that screen? And you're like, that's a really good point.
It's so true. It's
a really good point. We've got to think about accessibility. What is accessibility? It's for everybody, right? It's not just for one group or another, right? You're building for everyone.
When Alexa came out, a friend of mine who was blind said, this is the most accessible thing in the whole world. But right next to him was someone who was deaf. I said, nah, it's a doorstop.
100%. 100%.
So whenever people talk about, is it accessible, or they say it's fully accessible, my first question is, well, for whom? And are you sure?
Yeah.
Because something that's accessible for you will not be something accessible for someone who's deaf.
But you talk about the working with other companies, and one example, of course, that was on stage at Google I/O was the work that you're doing with Ira, the visual interpreter service, and one way of bringing in AI into that service. Of course, it's human-based at the moment, but AI can, of course, play a huge role in this. I mean, that's very exciting, really exciting, actually, to see how that can be developed and how Gemini can be used in that way to help us, locate items around the home, possibly even find that restaurant, that front door. The last 10-yard problem we always talk about, finding the door to the restaurant or finding the door to the shop when we get to it.
I thought it was the FFFF, the final freaking 50 feet.
Let's go with that.
That's what I was told, and I love that one.
I prefer that.
What's interesting to me is there's an advantage, and there's advantage to having humans is that it's probably more accurate and you can more easily engage with it, but there's a bit of a delay. If you have, and there's the potential cost of data. If you have it on device, it is going to be instantaneous, but maybe not quite as accurate. And what's neat to me is giving someone the choice. Do I have plenty of data? I'll call a human if the AI isn't giving me what I want. But my hope is the AI will give you what you want, and you use the human as the backup as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, it was very exciting, I've got to say. It was as soon as the glasses came on, I think everyone just stood up and paid attention. It was absolutely fantastic. And I know you're very limited in what you can say, but when can I get my hands on them?
Me first, mate. Me first.
Fair enough. Christopher, thank you for what you do. Keep spreading the word. I know that's one thing that you're very passionate about, is continuing to spread the word. We do our bit here, but please keep doing what you're doing. And thanks once again for coming on and joining us on Double Tap.
You guys are brilliant. Thank you for the opportunity.
I love me some Google in my life, Shaun Priest.
Oh, doesn't everyone? And it's so good to see the big names in tech here as well.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're going to continue that coverage of Inclusive Africa on the show on Monday. We're going to be hearing some more amazing voices from the conference. We've been gathering lots of interviews over the past couple of days. Check that out on Monday's episode. Quick note as well, Hable, we mentioned earlier, have a special offer going at the moment, this week, in fact, with Double Tap, where you can get 15% off the Hable One and Hable Easy. I can tell you that offer is being extended to next week. So, yes, it was so successful. They're going to do it all again. So check out our newsletter for all the details. Find that, doubletaponair.com/subscribe. We're out of here. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.